What do you think a cop sees the second you make eye contact first during a night stop? They're not just seeing your face, they're deciding whether you look scared, guilty, or dangerous before you even speak. Subscribe right now, because if you panic in that first second, you'll forget this when you need it most. Hit like too, because what you're about to learn can change how your next stop ends. Most people have no idea that your first few seconds matter more than your first few words. Before the officer hears your voice, your body is already talking. Your eyes are talking, your hands are talking, your shoulders are talking. If you whip your head around and lock eyes right away, that can read like panic or challenge. If you keep looking down at your lap, that can read like hiding. If your eyes bounce from mirror to glove box to back seat, that can read like you're tracking something dangerous. Let me show you exactly what cops are trained to notice first, what you should do before eye contact ever happens, and what you should say once the officer gets to your window. You're also going to learn the one line that shuts down search requests, the question that ends a dragged out stop, and the court rulings that back all of it up. If you get this right, you make the stop smaller. If you get it wrong, you make yourself the story. Here's the reality. You do not win this moment by looking brave. You do not win by looking friendly either. You win by looking safe, still, and hard to misunderstand. That's the goal. The title is not telling you to act shady or avoid eye contact forever. It means you do not snap into eye contact first, like your life depends on reading the officer's face. Your first job is not reading them. Your first job is controlling what they read from you. That's a huge difference. At night, every movement looks bigger, every glance looks sharper, every reach looks riskier, and your body does weird things when you get scared. Your chin lifts, your hands twitch, your eyes widen. You start talking before you think. That is why you need a script before you need courage. Former police officers have confirmed this works. Calm beats clever every single time. Your first tactic is to set your body before you ever set your eyes on the officer. The second those lights hit, stop scanning and build a safe picture. Turn on your inside light if it's dark. Put both hands high on the wheel. Sit back against the seat. Keep your shoulders still. Then when the officer gets close enough to hear you, you say this. Officer, my hands are on the wheel. Tell me what you want me to do. Word for word. Memorize that line. That sentence works because it answers the officer's biggest fear first. Not your fear. Their fear. They are trained to watch your hands, your waistline, your shoulders, and your eyes. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the same pattern keeps showing up. The officers get tense when the driver starts moving before speaking. They get tense when the driver keeps turning hard to look back. They get tense when one hand disappears. So your goal is to kill that tension before it grows. Bad way. Most drivers say, hang on, let me get my wallet, and then start reaching. Then the officer sees sudden movement and the stop gets hotter fast. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, my hands are on the wheel. Tell me what you want me to do. Then the officer sees control and the whole stop starts calmer. Watch what happens when you do this right. Instead of guessing what movement will look okay, you let the officer direct the movement. If your wallet is in your back pocket, say that before you move. If your registration is in the glove box, say that before you move. If you need to lean, say that before you lean. You are not asking for permission because you're weak. You are making the stop simple because simple is safe. And here's why this matters even more if the officer tells you to step out. Pennsylvania v. Mims says an officer can order a driver out during a lawful traffic stop. Plain English? If the stop itself is legal, the officer can control where you stand during it. That means the roadside is not the place to argue about stepping out. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. Your protection is not winning a loud debate in the dark. Your protection is staying calm, following movement orders, and giving the officer nothing extra to build on. A lot of drivers think eye contact shows confidence. Sometimes it does. But sudden eye contact, hard eye contact, or repeated checking of the officer before you stabilize your own hands can send the wrong message. It can look like you're measuring them. It can look like you're about to move. It can look like you're trying to read whether they saw something. None of that helps you. Safe eyes come after safe hands. You do not need to stare at the wheel forever. That would look strange too. You just don't lead with your eyes. You lead with your posture. Then you speak. Then you move only after you explain the move. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection in the first 10 seconds because it stops your body from saying the wrong thing before your mouth opens. And once that first read goes well, everything that follows gets easier. Think you could stay that calm during a real stop? Let me know in the comments. And if this is already changing how you'd handle tonight, drop a like right now. Your second tactic is to stop performing innocence with your face and your story. Listen closely because this is critical. The second the officer reaches your window, a lot of drivers try to look extra innocent. They force a smile. They over-explain. They make long eye contact like they're trying to prove honesty. That backfires all the time. Forced innocence does not look innocent. It looks nervous. It looks rehearsed. It looks like you want the officer to believe something before they even asked. So when the questions start, keep your face neutral and your answer short. Here's exactly what you say. I'm not discussing my day. That's it. Calm voice, no attitude. No speech after it. This is 100% legal. You do not have to explain where you came from, where you're going, who you were with, what time you left, or why you look nervous. Those questions feel casual, but they are not casual for you. Every answer gives the officer more to compare, more to doubt, and more to press. Bad way. Most drivers say, I'm just coming from my cousin's place, and I only had one drink hours ago. Then the officer has two new things to dig into. Good way. Smart drivers say, I'm not discussing my day. Then the officer gets less free material, and your own mouth stops feeding the stop. Berkmer v. McCarty matters here. Plain English, the Supreme Court said. Roadside questioning during a traffic stop is usually not the same as full custody at the start. That means your answers can still be used against you even before you ever hear a Miranda warning. So if you're waiting for the famous TV speech before you stop talking, you're waiting way too long. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. Watch what happens when you keep answering. The officer asks where you're headed, you answer. Then they ask why you took this route, you answer. Then they ask who owns the car, you answer. Then they ask why you look nervous, you answer that too. Now you're trapped inside your own story. One tiny detail slips and suddenly you sound suspicious for no reason other than stress. Stress makes normal people say dumb things. It makes you guess wrong about time. It makes you forget names. It makes you talk too much. That is why short answers protect you better than smart answers. And do not confuse silence with rudeness. You can be calm and still refuse extra questions. Tone matters. Your words stay soft. Your face stays neutral. Your body stays still. You're not trying to beat the officer in a word game. You're refusing to hand over pieces of your night that can be twisted later. A lot of people think eye contact solves this part. They think if they look sincere enough, the officer will trust them. That is not how this works. You do not control how your face gets read. You do control how much information you give. That is why the short line wins. If the officer says, why not? You got something to hide? Do not take the bait. If they say, I'm just asking simple questions, do not take the bait. Just repeat your line if you need to. I'm not discussing my day. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it is clear, calm, and easy to defend later. There's no messy explanation around it. There is no accidental admission sitting next to it. Just a clean refusal. Here's the reality. Most stops do not explode because the driver used magic words. They explode because the driver tried too hard to look innocent. Too much smiling, too much eye contact, too much story, too much volunteering. You want less face, less talk, less guessing, less risk. Your third tactic is the line that stops the search from becoming your problem. Once the officer sees you're nervous or quiet or not chatty, the next move is often a casual search request. It sounds friendly. It sounds easy. It sounds like saying yes will make the stop go faster. That is the trap. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Word for word. Keep it short, keep it flat, keep it calm. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to refuse consent. You are not being disrespectful. You are saying no to permission. That matters because if you give consent, you help build the search yourself. Bad way. Most drivers say, I don't have anything, so sure. Then the officer gets inside your car, opens things up, and your whole night changes. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then your rights stay alive, and the officer has to rely on something stronger than your permission. Ohio v. Robinette is why this line matters so much. The Supreme Court said officers do not have to tell you that you're free to go before asking for consent to search. Plain English, they do not have to remind you that you can say no. If you are waiting for some fair warning, do not wait. You protect yourself by saying no clearly right then. Florida versus Bostick also helps explain the game. The court focused on whether a person feels free to refuse or end the encounter. Plain English, a search request can sound casual while still putting pressure on you. Your job is not to decode the pressure. Your job is to answer it with a clean no. And this is where eye contact tricks people again. A lot of drivers lock eyes and say yes because they want to look cooperative. They think refusal will make them look guilty. That fear is exactly why consent works so often. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Refusing consent does not create guilt by itself. It creates a record that you did not volunteer your rights away. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when an officer asks for a quick look. Watch what happens if you ramble after saying no. If you say, I don't consent, but I swear there's nothing in there, you just restarted the whole conversation. If you say, I don't consent because my friend borrowed the car, now you handed over a new lead. If you say, can you tell me why? You invite more pressure. The cleanest version is still the best version. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then stop talking. And yes, the officer may keep asking. They may act surprised. They may act offended. They may act friendly. None of that changes your line. Keep it steady. Same words, same tone. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it gives them a clear answer without turning the stop into a shouting match. If you made it this far, you're already ahead of most drivers. Show me you're serious by hitting that like button, because the next move is the one that ends the fishing trip. Your fourth tactic is how you stop the stop from stretching into a roadside interview. A normal traffic stop has a mission. The officer checks your documents, runs the plate, handles the warning or ticket. Then you leave. That's the lane. But if you keep standing there, keep chatting, or keep answering after the traffic part is done, the stop can drift into something else. So once the paperwork is handled and the real reason for the stop is over, you ask one question. You look at the officer and say this: am I being detained or am I free to leave? Those exact words. That question works because it forces clarity. You're not being rude. You're not giving an order. You're asking whether the legal stop is still happening. If the answer is yes, you stop talking and let the officer own that choice. If the answer is no, you leave. Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, I can answer a few more things after the warning is already done. Then the stop drags on and the officer keeps fishing. Good way. Smart drivers say, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to either let you go or say why you're still being held. Rodriguez v. United States backs this up. The Supreme Court said police cannot extend a traffic stop beyond the time needed for the traffic issue just to do extra investigation unless they have real reason to suspect another crime. Plain English, they cannot keep you there just because they feel curious. The traffic mission sets the clock. That is why this question is so strong. It forces the moment that many drivers never force. Officers do not have to volunteer that the stop is over. You may have to ask. And once you ask, the stop has to become one thing or the other. Still detained or free to go. No fog, no guessing. And when I say leave, I mean leave. Do not ask one more question. Do not stay to be nice. Do not stand there trying to prove you respect law enforcement. If the officer says you are free to go, you say, thank you, have a safe night. Then you go. Your best protection is ending the contact cleanly. This also ties back to eye contact. A lot of drivers keep looking at the officer for clues. They wait for some magic smile, some relaxed posture, some sign that the stop feels over. Do not play that game. You do not need to read their face. You need to ask the right question. That is always stronger than guessing from eye contact. Let me show you exactly how the legal side fits together. Pennsylvania v. Mims says the officer can control where you stand during a lawful stop. So your best move is not arguing movement orders. It is showing safe hands, slow movement, and calm posture first. Berkmer v. McCarty tells you roadside answers can still hurt you before Miranda ever enters the picture. So you stop trying to look innocent with long stories and nervous eye contact. Rodriguez v. United States says a traffic stop cannot be stretched out just to chase other suspicions without real reason. So once the traffic part is done, your question matters. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? Robinette adds one more lesson too. The officer does not have to warn you that a search request is optional. That is why your refusal has to come from you, clearly and calmly. All of these cases point in the same direction. Your safety and your rights get stronger when your behavior gets simpler. Visible hands, fewer words, no consent, clear exit question. That is not a trick. That is a system. And it works because it keeps you from helping the stop grow bigger than it has to be. Now picture this. You're parked outside a store at night checking your phone. A patrol car rolls up behind you. Your mirror lights up blue. The wrong way starts instantly. You whip your head back and make hard eye contact through the mirror. Your chest tightens. You start digging for your wallet. Before the officer even reaches the window, you're already moving, already talking, already trying to smile. The officer sees quick hands, fast breathing, and a face that looks scared. Then come the questions. Where are you coming from? Why are you parked here? Have you had anything tonight? Because you want to look honest, you answer all of it. Then the officer asks to take a look inside. You say yes, because you think no will sound guilty. Now you're standing outside your own car watching the stop turn into something way bigger. Now the right way. The lights hit. You stop scanning. You turn on your inside light. Both hands go to the wheel. Your shoulders settle. The officer walks up. You don't force eye contact first. You let your body say safe before your face says anything. Then you speak. Officer, my hands are on the wheel. Tell me what you want me to do. He asks for your license. You say where it is before you move. He asks where you were coming from. You answer, I'm not discussing my day. He asks to search. You answer, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. The warning is written. The documents come back. He keeps talking anyway. You ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? Same street, same officer, same night. Totally different outcome because you stopped trying to read the officer's face and started controlling what your own body and words were saying. Next week, I'm breaking down what to say when cops ask to search your phone. Subscribe now because that one mistake can expose your whole life in seconds. So burn these 4 moves into your head. First, do not lead with eye contact. Lead with safe hands and still shoulders. Second, do not perform innocence with your face or your story. Use the short line and stop feeding the stop. Third, if they ask to search, refuse clearly and calmly. Fourth, when the traffic part is over, force clarity with the exit question. You do not need to look brave. You do not need to look clever. You need to look safe, sound calm, and stop giving away your rights in the dark. Hit subscribe so you catch that phone search video next week. Smash, like if this changed how you'll handle your next stop. And drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.